For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in at thescribbleshow.com and on your favorite podcast app. Remember to subscribe if you like what you hear. Everybody says that, so they tell me to say that. We should add one of those things like, give us a donation. Don't worry, we're a profitable company. We don't need to beg for your money. Thanks for tuning in today. Off to a great start, aren't we? Lots to talk about today. I've got three I think they're interesting stories for you, and I want your thoughts as well. So you can always chime in, send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. Now, the first segment we're going to talk about is the casino. Are you there to actually win money? Are you there to socialize and have a good time with others? What's the main purpose of your casino visit? Well, I don't normally gamble, right? I'm a cheapskate at heart, so I'll tell you about my recent casino win and the experience that I had there. Secondly, when it also comes to money, how much do you trust your partner with your banking information? Do you have access to your partner's accounts? Can you check and snoop around and see what you want? And also, random money. It's all about money today. So sit back and relax. The Scribble starts right now.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. I'm not a big gambler, and I think that stands to reason because I wrote a book called The Official Guide to Being a Winnipeg Cheapskate, which means I'm not about just frivolously throwing around my money, right? Just ask any charity. They know I don't do it. So I was out for dinner with a colleague, and there was a hockey game on. Of course, being Canadian, it's almost like in your DNA that you have to like hockey, or at least watch it, once a year or something like that. And we happened to be in downtown Winnipeg, my hometown, and we noticed everybody wearing jerseys and realized, oh crap, there's a hockey game tonight, so traffic is going to be nuts, it's going to be ridiculous, why are we here? So we wanted to get out of downtown as quickly as possible. And I said, well, why don't we just watch the game? Neither of us is a hockey fan, but, when in Rome, as they say, they'll watch for the coronavirus thing. And so we ended up going to the casino. And they have, a big screen there, so they put on the game, and I would think that that's very distracting because you're not going to be gambling as much if you're paying attention to the hockey game. So that's maybe just a business not that I'm going to run a casino anytime soon. But yeah, you'd think that you'd be looking away from your slot machine or whatever it is, so you wouldn't be gambling as quickly. But then maybe you would stay there longer because a hockey game is 3 hours. I don't know why I'm talking through a business strategy of a casino. Let's get back to the point of the story here. So we end up going to the casino. And this is where I sort of broke ranks with my fellow cheapskates. And I finally said, you know what, I'm going to go to the ATM. And I pulled out $80 from the bank machine. Now, this is ridiculous because I just don't do that. And so I was like, all right, you know what, I'm going to be a big shot. I have a lot of money, so it's not, whatever. And so I go and we start playing roulette. There's an automated roulette thing. So you don't have an actual person spinning the wheel. You just sit at the computer, you press the numbers that you want. And I just kind of figured, and I usually go when I play the slot machines, like for 1 cent. That's the kind of gambling that I do. I don't do, the blackjack, the roulette, the poker, anything like that. And so I was like, what the hell? Let's do $5 on red. And that's, again, probably the most that I've ever put on one round or one hand. at a casino. I used to cringe when I would put in 3 quarters back on that roll. Remember, you'd have the actual roll of quarters, and your fingers would be black, and you'd be 75 cents was a lot for me. I would sit there going, "Oh my God, I just opened a roll of quarters, and I'm already down to half of it in a few minutes." So for me to do $5 was a little bit crazy. But of course, as you might call it, beginner's luck, red comes up on that first spin, right? So I basically double my bet, and I win $10 is how it goes. See, then after a couple more spins, you get cocky, right? So the second one, I do red again, because I was like, all right, whatever. Realizing that it's generally a 50-50 shot, right? You have those other numbers on there, 0 and 00, so it's not exactly 50-50, but, it kind of is. And so there we go. I've just won, like $10, $20 now. And then, because I'm comfortable, I'm like, $10 on red. And then, of course, it comes up black for the next, 3 spins, and I'm back down. But the weird thing about gambling, and if anybody who's gambled has probably realized this, you always go and say, that next spin, I got it, right? Or that next hand of blackjack, I'm going to have a blackjack, right? And what's the likelihood of it happening? Well, I guess it can, right? Some of it is luck when it comes to the roulette wheel. I mean, it's who knows? And so I was down $80 within about... We were there probably, I would say, 20 minutes to a half hour. So it's not like I, was blowing $20 each spin. It took a little while. But it was more of a social aspect of it. We were kind of, we're chatting and we're kind of looking. We don't know anything about numbers and statistics and math and all that other stuff because they have that screen that shows you, the last 10 rolls, what came up or spins, whatever it is. And so we would kind of look at that and just go, okay, well, this number 12 hasn't come up in a long time. So, okay. But again, totally random when this thing is spinning, right? I mean, you never know where it's going to land. And so we had a good time out of it, is what I'm saying. It was a social thing. We were kind of laughing, whatever, we're just blowing some money here. And then I realized that this was not even the first period of the hockey game over yet. And so I was like, well, I'm already out of money. So I went to the bank machine, the ATM, and I got another $60. Adding that up, that's $140 at this point. And so we don't know anything about these games. So we just went, I said, when I turned 18 and we started going to the casino, like my brothers or my parents, we went for my 18th birthday, I kind of just looked for a slot machine that had a loose connection. At the time I worked at Red Lobster, there was a game that had lobster on it, right? I worked at Party City at one point. There was a party, what was it called again? Some sort of a party slot machine, okay? So I would find that connection, right? I got a dog. All right, so there's a game that's got a dog on it, so I would play that one. Again, just to be fun. It's not a neurotic, I'm definitely going to win on this one because I have a dog. No, but I don't know how these games work nowadays. Back in the day when it used to be 777, cherry, 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 I got it. But now they have 30-some lines or 40 different ways to win, and I found myself kind of getting aggravated that I didn't know how I was winning. I was winning, but it pissed me off because I didn't exactly know how. So we go to this one, and I thought that they were giant meatballs. I still don't know exactly what they were. Planets, I think, perhaps, but I was calling them meatballs. And I was not winning on these slot machines. There was one that had pigs. There was one that had... It was sort of like Wheel of Fortune, but it wasn't. Then there was a Western one where this guy was throwing dynamite. Didn't win on any of those. Go to this meatball one, and suddenly I get the jackpot, or not the jackpot game, where you get all the free spins and things like that. And I had never had that on any of them that I was playing all night. Nothing. There was nothing. And so I was just kind of like, oh, okay, great. And then I get the jackpot game again, or, whatever it is, the free spin game again. And I ended up winning $60 on the first one, $111 on the next one. And now I'm up to $220, $230. So now I'm up, right? Less the $140, right? So take that out. So I'm still up. And my colleague's like, okay, just bring it down to 200, call it a night, done. Now, there's a part of me that wanted to just blow it down to 140 so that I was even. This way I could say, yeah, I still played the rest of the night, whatever. She made the excuse that she had to get going because her husband and kids were at home, blah, 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 blah. I think, I should call her right now and ask her, but I won't. I think that was just her way of us leaving to go and say, hey, JB, you know what? You're up. Call it a night. Good round. You're done. And so then she still had a bit of money to blow. She didn't win at all, so that's why I say she had money to blow. And at that point, I kind of just started to have fun with it. I called it a night. I cashed in my $200, or $240 is what I ended up having at the end of the night. And I had a drink. I had bought us dinner, and then drinks were on her. So I was kind of like, all right, well, and I factor in the $40 that I paid for us at dinner. So I still came out ahead. And I was like, you know what, let's just have a good time. So I got this, like a peach daiquiri or something, whatever it was, in this giant, like, goblet. Because it was a casino, right? You're not having, like, the little plastic cups or anything. This was, right from the bar. And I'm just walking around, and then we just did some goofy photos on this big, tall staircase that they had. So it ended up being a really fun night. But, I don't understand the appeal of gambling. When you get into that moment of winning, sure, absolutely. But, blowing $80 within a matter of, like, 30 minutes, that's just ridiculous to me. And so if I wasn't in a social setting, like I wouldn't say, oh, hey, I'm hanging out at home Friday night by myself. I'm going to go to the casino and slide a bunch of 20s into the slot machine. No. If we're doing it socially, which we do, like, let's say for Mother's Day or for my mom's birthday, my parents' anniversary, my parents go to the casino, I think, 2 or 3 times a week. My brothers and I have no intention of doing it. Both of them have families that they're, taking care of and supporting. So casino isn't first and foremost for them. But yeah, I'll go socially and, whatever, I waste $80. We had a good time anyway. No different than people who spend that much money on, let's say, a hockey ticket to go to the hockey game. I mean, you're there for 2 or 3 hours, and that's a couple $100 with the overpriced drinks and things like that. So really, it's just kind of a night out. It balances out depending on how you want to look at it. So that's my story about the casino. I ended up leaving there, with $240. Oh, sorry, it was $220, because what happened was, on the way out, I jokingly said to her, I'm going to go and put $20 on red. And again, I was still up, right? So it's not like I went into the hole. And so I left there, that's right, with $220. It was just a fun night. You could do some selfies, fanning out the $20 bills and, with holding the drink and just posing, and that's what it was. I'll gamble socially, but certainly I don't make a habit out of it. And because, again, like I said, I was getting aggravated that I didn't know how I was winning. I want to know how I'm winning. That's great that I just won $111, $110 on this thing. Why did I get that? What was it? Maybe I'm just, I'm too deep. I'm a too deep gambler is what the problem is. Do you like to gamble? What's your game? What's the most amount of money you've lost, and what's the most amount of money you've won? Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. We were just talking about credit cards and online banking and if your credit card is saved into your phone so that it's just quick for you to go through and purchase something. My mom still won't do, she won't even do telephone banking now that I think of it. She still has to go to the branch, to the bank machine. She still puts in that little book that, then prints out all of your transactions and things like that. She's never done online banking, has no desire to do it. And I was sort of half there. And when I say that, I mean, I didn't have my bank accounts stored on my phone. So I didn't have any banking apps. I would still do online banking on my computer at home, yes. But I never had the apps on my phone until just recently. And so I was saying that back in the day when I turned, 18, 19, and I was doing Online purchases. I don't know that Amazon was yes, Amazon was around, I guess, at the time. But I used my credit card so much, and I don't think that it was a feature that your web browser or whatever would store the number. Right now it has, you want to save your password, blah, 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 blah. Well, okay. So that wasn't a feature on your computers back then. So because I used my credit card so much, ordering CDs, there was a store called Music Boulevard. I don't know if anybody ever ordered from there. But basically I had my credit card number memorized because I was making so many purchases. Now, I couldn't even tell you what my Visa, my MasterCard number is. I don't. So that led to a discussion of, one, do you memorize your cards? Whether that's for security, whether that's just because you use it so much. And secondly, do you know your partner's banking information? So do you know their PIN number, PIN code, whatever you call it? Do you know how to get into their bank account? Do you know how to check their balance? Do you have access to it? That we were sort of, our team here was kind of divided half and half on that. I have access, yes, but I don't make, like, whatever. I mean, I don't even really check my own bank account. You know, I'm not obsessed with money like that. Now, again, I'm fortunate that I'm not living paycheck to paycheck. So for me, you know, I'm not constantly looking at my bank account. But why would you do that, I guess? My thing is that maybe you just don't trust your partner. You feeling your partner is hiding things. Would I have access to it if I wanted it? Well, I do. But again, I've got better things to do in my life. I don't really care. Plus, I know how much my... I think if you are familiar with your partner's professional life or things like that, and you know how much they make, then I don't know what it would matter. I guess from the perspective to know if they're cheating and they're going out and doing social things, or they're going to movies without you or whatever it is, okay, perhaps, but whatever. So what are your thoughts on this? So again, a couple of questions in there. Do you know your own banking information by heart? Have you memorized it? So if you were to want to make a purchase without having your credit card there, and you were on, somebody else's device or whatever, would you be able to do it? Do you know your credit card number? So my answer is I don't anymore. Back in the day, absolutely. I used to know my American Express. I used to know my Visa. I did. And secondly, then, do you know, or does your partner know banking information? Do you know each other's banking information? So whether that's the credit card, the PIN to get into their account, do you have that? Do you know it? Send me an email. Don't send me the information. That's not what I'm asking you before anybody starts telling. I'm not asking for the personal information. I'm just asking for your story or your opinion. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
JB here, back on this Scribble. Everybody always talks about, winning the lottery and what's the first thing that you would buy or the first thing you would do with it, right? The politically correct answer is, I would give a lot to charity. You know damn well you're not going to do that. Eventually you might, but you're going to go and buy yourself something frivolous. So I had this conversation with somebody, and a random stranger, and I said, let's say that you win one of those things where you get like $1,000 a week, right? You have one of those lottery tickets where it's $1,000 a week for life or for a year, or whatever it is that they say. And so I asked the guy, and I said to him, what's the first thing that you would, it's that first $1,000 check that you get, or $1,000 cash, however they pay you, I don't know how they do it. You get that first $1,000, what are you going to do with it? And he starts going and saying, well, I'm going to invest it, and then I guess, after so many months, I would have probably enough interest to do this and to do that, and I'd look into probably a property. And he totally didn't understand where I was going with the question. Okay? The question is basically, what are you going to spend $1,000 on? That's really what I'm getting at. You might, pay off some bills or a bill or whatever it is, and then, okay, fine, to get that out of the way, and then the rest is play money. That first $1,000, Are you going to just go and buy the most expensive vodka in the store? Are you going to take a trip and do whatever? Like, I'm going to fly to Mexico for the weekend and come back on Monday and go to work or quit my job. Like I want to know, what's the fun thing that you're going to do with it? And then I found myself getting angry because I'm saying like, no, this is money that like you don't need. You don't need the money. This is just an extra $1,000. What are you going to do with it? Well, 1,000 isn't a lot of money, blah, blah. No, shut up and tell me what are you going to spend it on? So then I kind of just started grasping for examples. And again, that expensive vodka thing. I said, are you going to go to the liquor store and just buy that one liquor that it's got that, it's what is it, Ciroc or Grey Goose or whatever, I don't know the expensive kinds of vodkas. I just get the one that is cheap and that I get air miles for. Are you going to buy that one just because you've never been able to afford it before, right? Like or you could afford it, you just wouldn't waste your money on it, right? Like something like that. And then I gave another example. I said, would you just, because I'm Canadian, I said, would you fly to Edmonton, to the West Edmonton Mall for the day? Go there in the morning, fly there, spend a day at the water park, go down the water slides, and then fly home in the evening. Like, those are the kinds of things. And I said, that's what I would do if I was getting that. Like $1,000. I mean, what is the flight? Maybe $100 or something to go from where I am to Edmonton. Go there in the morning, have a day at the mall, and then fly back at night. Like, why not? I think that is total baller, isn't it? Yes, I realize investing is the smarter thing, but like I said, this is just sort of extra money that you get that you don't need. It's just play money essentially. So I want to know, what would you do? I'm giving you $1,000 a week. What is the first thing that you're going to do with that first $1,000? Send me an email. live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. And like I said, I would absolutely try to travel as many different places as I could, and on just short little jaunts. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, how cool would it be to go and say, yeah, you know what, last week I visited every Canadian province and territory for the day, for a bit. Obviously not for the day, because you'd have to cover more than one in a day, but and to Americans, they'd probably be like, wow, touring Canada? Yeah, that's not the point. The point is, what would you want to do with it? What would you, I think that's total baller. Oh, I'm just flying to Toronto for dinner and then I'm coming back tonight. Like, something just ridiculous like that. Wouldn't you do it? And then, yeah, of course, weeks 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, you invest, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. I get that. But that first $1,000, what would you do? I don't want to hear if it's donate to charity. I don't want to hear it. I would probably do that too. Week 17, week 43 maybe. But what's your first $1,000 being spent on? Send me an email. live@jbonair.com. live@jbonair.com. Let's continue on then. We'll go into my next story since we've got some time here. So we've talked about not needing that $1,000 a week, right? This is just sort of extra money that you're getting. Well, what would you do if you had 2 weeks off? And many people get that with their job, right? You get 2 weeks off, 3 weeks off for vacation. Would you do nothing? Now, we always use that term nothing, right? Oh, I'm going to do nothing this weekend. Well, of course you're going to do something. You're going to go to the bathroom. You're going to eat a little bit, right? You're still doing something, but nothing extravagant, right? You're not going to go out. You're not going to, go dancing. You're not going to travel. You're not going to leave the city. You're not going to do whatever. But I had this experiment when I was traveling a couple of weeks ago with my colleague, and she, I'm very business-minded when we go somewhere and when we travel, and so she wanted to just go to the beach and let's go to a patio, let's go do whatever. But I was very work-minded, and I said, you know what? No, I've got to. Let's focus on work, And she said, why don't you just do nothing for once? And I said, okay, when the work is done, I will make you a promise. I will slow down and do nothing for 2 weeks. Now, you have to realize that as an entertainment reporter, we have a very busy beginning part of the year, right? It's award show season and there's Super Bowl. Like, there's a whole bunch of, every weekend has something, so there's really not much breathing time. After that, so come mid-February, is when you have a bit of breathing room, right? You've got some time, you can just relax a little bit. So I said to her, when we get back home, I had some time off. I only had to do a couple of our entertainment segments. So our daily entertainment show, the celebrity headlines were written for me. I just went into my home studio. I recorded like the 3-minute segment that we had, and then I zipped it over to them, and that was good. So yes, I was still technically working, but I wasn't doing 8-hour days. And so I said to her, I made her this promise. So for 2 weeks, I'm not going into the office. I'm not doing conference calls. I'm not watching entertainment news. I'm not being on email. I'm not doing social media stuff. I'm really going to do as little as possible. And again, I hate to use the word nothing because that is impossible. But I'm not going to be cooking. I'm not going to walk the dogs. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to lounge around. I'm going to be a loaf. Now, on the surface, that seems like fun, right? That seems like a great idea. Just slow ease into the day. I got to tell you, I ended up becoming really depressed. So on day 1 or 2, the novelty of being able to sleep in, right? Oh, and then I'm going to go have a bath for an hour, hour and a half. Okay, fine. And I'm going to go lay on the couch, watch some TV, had a nap in the afternoon, ordered some food, had it delivered, and, stayed up late because I could. And then day 2, same thing, right? By day 3, my system, my body was still full of energy because I was eating, but I was not expending any energy. I wasn't walking the dogs. I wasn't on the treadmill. I wasn't doing anything. I physically was not moving my body very much. I stayed on the couch for 8-10 hours. But I said, all right, this is a social experiment at this point. I'm just going to, see how it goes. I'm just going to play this out. And by the end of the first week, I wasn't sleeping regularly. I was still wide awake at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I was sleeping on the couch. Even the dogs were kind of looking at me going, why are we kind of just doing nothing? This is really boring. And I think that they even started to get depressed. And so I thought, oh my God, I've got another week of this. But again, I'll stick it out. I mean, I'm not doing anything reckless, right? It's not like I'm going on a 14-day binge of drugs or booze. I wasn't. I didn't have any of those. I've never done a drug like that in my life anyway, but, or maybe I did have 1 or 2 drinks just, again, for the novelty factor. But I got to tell you, midweek of the second week, it was like a depression. I felt like I had no reason to be. I felt like I didn't exist for anything. It was very strange. And I knew that, I've got a family, I've got people that love me, I've got a job, I own a company, I run a company. I knew that I still had, and I'm going to use this as I still had something to live for. You get what I'm saying, though? If I didn't have that, right? If I was unemployed, I had, no family, I could see how people would get very, very depressed and why their mental health or just their mental stability would be vulnerable to anything. Again, by the end of the second week, I was not feeling refreshed. I wasn't feeling great about my life. If anything, it made me want to just throw myself back into work again because it was so depressing. It was so sad. I couldn't tell you. It was so boring being at home. And maybe if it was summer and I could walk the dogs more, I could lay in the backyard and tan, do a little bit more, except I was cooped up in the house because it was cold. Maybe it would be a different story, but honestly, having very little interaction with the outside world, and not cooking. There was one day that I ordered food delivery 3 times in one day. It was about $230 or so over the 2 weeks ordering food. I wasn't, I was cooking a little bit, right? But again, the premise or the concept of this was to do very, very little. I didn't do laundry. There were a couple days where I just didn't shower or bath because I was like, well, I haven't really done anything. I've just been on the couch, so I really need a shower, I'm not painting a really good picture. It's not like I was stinking, but you sort of felt like, well, there's no need to shower, so why bother, right? And it was just strange. I'm not single, by the way, so my other half was out of the country at Carnival in Brazil, so it's not like I was repulsing anybody with my body odors or anything when I was doing nothing at home, but it was just kind of interesting to sort of do this experiment that we always say that we're going to do nothing, right? Oh, I've got 2 weeks off. Well, what are you doing for your vacation? Nothing. Well, that people are going to do gardening or, yard work, whatever it is. But again, my goal was to do as little as possible. And it was emotionally unstable for me. It really was. I didn't like it. So again, the moral of the story is live every minute as best you can, right? Don't waste a minute. And I'm not, live every minute if it was your last. You'd never know today could be your last. That's not what I'm saying. Is just, you don't want to look back at it and go, wow, I totally wasted 5 days where I could have been doing some incredible things in the world. So that's my point. If you've ever done anything like that, sometimes even just a weekend away from everybody, away from the outside world, can just drive people stir crazy. Send me an email. Tell me about it. live@jbonair.com. live@jbonair.com.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter @The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
We are absolutely out of time on The Scribble. I will talk to you next week. My name's Jeremy Bradley. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter @The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat